into the shadows, where I hope you find peace in the dark. The stories I narrate are handpicked week by week. If you find yourself enjoying these tales, please consider giving a like. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Ariana has begun to cry openly, doing her best to stifle her sobs, but to little success. Kyle and Kay keep pace, and I don't know what to do. Should we run? I'm not sure if I have it in me to run much further without collapsing. Take a breath from my inhaler. And would that set them off? Running? Would that anger them? I don't know. I just don't know. So we keep on walking hastily through the woods, down the forest path, and back to the car. Kyle and Kay continue calling after us. I keep my head down and keep moving, terrified that at any moment the creature wearing Emily's skin is going to burst out from the trees and onto the trail ahead. "Robbie," says Kay. "Ariana," says Kyle. She sobs, but we keep walking, until Ariana lets out a loud shriek and comes to a sudden stop. Robbie and I jump, and I suck some thick forest air in through my teeth, wheeling around to face her. She is standing stock still, staring wide-eyed into the woods, her beam heading off into the trees. "Guys," she says loudly. "Guys, it's Emily." Terror strikes me. Robbie swears and grabs Ariana roughly by the shoulder, and we start to run, dragging her along with us. Kyle and Kay keep easy pace behind, always just behind. "Hey," Ariana shouts, struggling. "Did you hear me? It's Emily. She's okay. I just saw her, you guys. I saw her in the trees. Let me go." "It is not her, Ariana," I reply, shouting back. You have to trust us, okay? We have to get to the car." But Ariana does not quite understand, and how could she? She cries with frustration, violently scratching and pushing Robbie away. He curses and pulls back his hand, and Kyle speaks, addressing his words to Ariana. "Ariana, please stop, okay? I'm really genuinely asking you to stop." And she does so. She stops. She turns to him, panting, tears streaming down her face. "Keep moving," I hiss to her, but she does not. She stands her ground. She speaks to Kyle and Kay as we turn and light up their faces with beams of our lights. "Guys, please. What is this? What is happening? Is it a prank or a game?" I can't tell from her voice that she does not believe it, but she's desperate for some kind of answer, for a way out, and hell, we all are at this point. "They're not pretending, Ariana. Just don't speak to them." He tries to grab her by the shoulder again, but she forcibly shrugs him off for a second time. She refuses to move. She's shaking, her fist clenched. "Ariana," taking a step forward. There is what sounds to be a genuine urgency in his voice. And Kai speaks out next. "You have to trust us, okay?" Ariana swivels, looking from us to the boys and to whatever she thinks she's seen in the forest, the beam of her light swinging around her. I run to her, gripping her shoulders. "No, Ariana, that is not her. That's not Emily. It's something pretending. It lies." She burst into sudden tears, her face contorting with anguish. "Whose side are you on?" She screams, and before I react, she pushes me to the ground. Robbie moves to help me up, and Ariana runs off. Robbie yells after her, but he is too late. Ariana has sprinted into the forest, calling after Emily, the glow of her flashlight quickly becoming lost amongst the trees and in the underbrush, the sounds of her footsteps fading. Kyle and Kai watch her go motionless. Robbie hoists me up and we dart to the edge of the forest. He pulls aside a branch and shines his light into the woods, but Ariana is gone. There's no sign, and her cries for Emily disappear into the sound like the rising wind. Oh God, I shout, running my hands through my hair. What are we gonna do? What the hell do we do? I shoot a glance at Kyle and Kay. They stand silently watching as this all goes down. Robbie, I think we might have to go after her. We have to try. Cassie, I don't know if I can. I don't think I can handle seeing that monster again. I can't. This is Ariana, Robbie. We just have to try. We won't go far. She can't have gone too deep. It's been seconds. We'll go in 20 feet. 20 feet, Robbie. Come on. We can do this. I promise, Robbie. Only 20 feet, then we turn back. I say softly, holding his face in my hands, and he nods. So we leave the path and push into the woods once again, following the rough route that we presume Ariana must have taken, but she completely disappeared. And I can't hear her. I cannot see her flashlight. She was seconds ahead of us, seconds, half a minute max. How could she have vanished so soon? Kyle and Kay don't even follow. The atmosphere presses down upon us heavy, threatening me silent, but I force myself to call out, and to no reply. On we walk further into the forest. Robbie is getting angsty, and I'll be honest, so am I. I hate every second of this. I want to run to the car. I want to get the fuck out. But we can't just leave her, not without trying. I know Robbie feels the same way. Nevertheless, we go deeper than we set out to. He's about to say something. I can feel it when I grab his arm and point over to our right. Robbie, look, the light. And sure enough, a faint beam of light can be seen from behind a bush a little ways to our position on the right, but we're in too far. We run the real risk of becoming disoriented and becoming lost amongst the trees, just like everyone else has. Alone with the creatures in the dark. Ariana? I call and call again, but nothing. What if she's fallen over? What if she's hurt? Robbie wipes sweat from his forehead, glancing back through the branches towards the path. What if it's a trap, Cassie? And you know what? He could well be right. Like flies in a web. But I will not leave Ariana behind. Robbie, stay here. Right here in this spot. We cannot risk losing our way back to the path. Shine your flashlight over towards the glow and I'll follow it. I'll stay within sight and I'll be quick, alright? I swear, if she's not there, then I'll come straight back and we'll hightail it to the car, okay? Alright. Go, Cassie. Be quick. So I leave him. He marks our place on our way back to the path, and I follow the beam through the ferns and branches, grimacing as they scratch my skin, and I press forward. Coming up to the glowing light, I start to call out softly again for Ariana, hissing her name as I approach, but she doesn't respond. But she should, because I'm close now. I'm right by it. I push aside the bush and I see it. I see her flashlight, sat by itself on the ground amongst the debris of the forest floor. And Ariana is nowhere to be seen. I reach down, grab it, casting the beam into the dark, spinning it in a circle looking for any sign of her, any sign at all, but there's nothing. Nothing until I look up. The beam of flashlight extends high into the trees above, and there is Ariana, suspended upside down. She is misshapen. Her facial structures are not in the correct place. Her body twitches and jerks, and all I can do is stare in horror as the body of my friend shifts and crunches above me. Dark fluid leaks from her onto the ground beneath. Thick green-brown fur spurts from the sockets of her eyes, and fur that shakes and shifts as if something behind it is dragging itself around. The fur is pulled back onto her head and replaced by a terrible, shining white. The collars of her irises roll down from behind her eyelids. No. Her jaw cracks. No. She whispers back. I begin to retreat, stumbling backwards through the forest, over the roots, through the bushes. Ariana's eyes do not leave me. My stomach lurches and I feel like I'm going to be sick. Every twitch of the abomination before me sends ripples of disgust all over my body. Adrenaline pumps vigorously through my veins. How could this have happened? I can't stop shaking in shock and terrible disbelief. She's gone for minutes, and minutes only, and we were still too late to save her. Is that all it took? Alone in the forest for a few minutes? Robbie. His name flashes through my head. Oh, fuck. Is this it? Have I lured him out there to his death? To mine? What if he thinks I'm one of them? And what if he thinks I've done as Emily's done? That I've tricked him into coming out here and leaving him alone? Oh, no. Robbie! I scream back behind me as I continue my retreat, crying out above the wind and the branches, too terrified to tear my eyes away from Ariana's. Suspended upside down, her arms rigid by her sides that begin to tremble now. Her fingers clench and unclench, her bones crack. For a terrible moment, I think Robbie is gone. Taken, perhaps, or that he's abandoned me, left me behind and alone, lost in the woods, but I hear his voice. He calls back. Cassie, what's going on? Are you okay? I sob in bitter relief as my resolve breaks. I turn from Ariana. I see the beam of light pointed towards me in little ways, and I stumble, sprinting towards him. I hear Ariana calling after me. Her voice, twisted amalgamation of Robbie's and her own, and all of something else. I race back to Robbie. He squints and holds a hand out in front of his eyes, and as I shine the beam of light into his face. We're too late. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I left you. The way back, Robbie. Take us back. He doesn't say another word, but he nods, and we run together back through the forest and towards the path. I grip tight to his arm, to his sleeve, refusing to let go. I've learned my lesson, okay? I've learned it, and I won't let him out of my sight. Staggering back past the branches and onto the path, I'm disturbed, but not surprised to see Kyle and Kay standing in the exact same positions we left them in, silently watching. We don't stick around, still holding tight to him. I race with Robbie down the path and towards the car, flashlight shaking, breath ragged, and I shoot a look back. Kyle and Kay have begun pursuit just behind, keeping pace, keeping us in their sights. They keep calling out the same terrible words they have before. Don't listen to them, please. Don't believe them. It's okay, we're nearly out of here. We're nearly back to the car. I remember. I feel like I'm running across a tightrope, wavering dangerously from side to side with every step. Kay keeps talking, his words loud, a backdrop to the consistent crunching of twigs and pine needles beneath her feet. We approach the car, parked under and next to a large tree that stands alone in a little clearing, one that connects the mountain to the road. We stagger and stop, and Robbie crouches down by the vehicle, shaking and desperately fumbling in it through his bag for his keys. He carelessly unzips all of the pockets. He rifles hastily through his things. I run a tongue over my dry, death-dry lips and turn, standing with my back to him and facing ahead to Kyle and Kay as they come to a sudden stop. They don't seem tired at all. What happened to you guys? I whisper, shaking my inhaler in a trembling hand and taking a breath, fear and sorrow flowing through me as one. They stand in silence for a while. The only sounds are Robbie's bitter muttering, the noise of his hands scrabbling through his bag, and the breeze in the leaves of the surrounding woods. Kyle takes a sudden step forward and cocks his head, and I jump. "Robbie," I mutter with urgency as he searches through his bag. Sweat leaks down my back and my neck. The dark and merged shapes of the forest around us rustle in the wind. The enormous lone tree by the car sighs, and its branches quake softly. "Cassie," Kyle says, and behind him the same grin from earlier. The one that I had first found only curious, but now disturbs me to my core, stretches across Kay's face. My heart hammers, and I grip the flashlight tighter in both my hands. Kyle lifts his arm out to me. I can feel tears begin down to stream my face. "We need to help her," Kyle says quietly, holding out his hand. Robbie searches through his bag, swearing to himself in a rising panic underneath his breath. "I want to, Kyle." I reply in a shakily voice. "I want to so badly, but I can't. I'm sorry." I hear from behind a grunt of bitter relief, and all of a sudden, the welcome sound of the car unlocking. For a moment, the clearing is bathed in a flickering of orange light. Kai's chest starts to shake, his mouth rounds into an O and his jaw cracks. He hollers loudly in a noise that shatters attention. The call of the unknown ape, sounding from his throat. The screams of what I had likened to a howler monkey from the dark beyond the trees. "Get in," Cassie, grabbing me and pulling me from my daze, "into the car," and we scramble inside, throwing ourselves through the doors and slamming them shut behind us. With sudden and sickening speed, the boys outside have hurried themselves against the vehicle. Kai up onto the roof and Kyle against the side window, slamming on it with his fists. "Drive!" Robbie starts the engine. Kyle shouts through the glass and he desperately batters it with his fists. "And don't leave me here with them." And I look into his eyes, and Robbie slams his foot on the pedal, and the car begins to sped away. I see raw fear. I see terror, and the swirlings of my thought make no matter better. He is left behind. The car roars into life and stumbles, and Kai is thrown off on the hood and onto the ground as we speed on and out of the clearing and onto the road. The mountain road that lies dead ahead. The ashen remains of our fire and some empty cans. But all of the equipment and clothes that we'd left behind had vanished, and the families were sure distraught and furious. I don't blame them. They don't understand the story that we tell them. They think the overactive imaginations of a bunch of high schoolers are covering for, perhaps even hiding from some secret traumatic accident, a guilty defense mechanism for why we let them wander off in the forest. And in a way, we did. I wonder about Kyle the most, and what he said to me through the window as the car sped away and I left him behind. Was it a trick? Or was he telling the truth? You may be interested to know that I did eventually end up in a relationship with Robbie, by the way, and there was a little passion, if I'm being honest, but we kept each other sane over the many years. I've relayed my concerns to him, and told him about what Kyle said, and what I saw in the tree, and about whether we did that night was right, and the things that we acted and were we supposed to, and what might have happened to us if we followed Kyle and Kay into the forest. what happened if there were so many what ifs. Had they already been taken like Emily or like Ariana? Or could we have saved them? And each time we are forced to concede that we'll never really know for certain, because we're sure as hell not going back. The end. I hope you enjoyed tonight's story. I know I did. Recording this series has been fun, and I hope and look forward to doing more. So please, I do beg of you, consider giving a like or even a sub if you enjoy the content. It surely helps out and provides better content and ideas for the future. And make a comment about what story you'd like me to read next. Have a good night.